Ask anyone ever about Fortnite Chapter 1 and they'll tell you it was the peak of human creation. Back when Epic Games were the literal Leonardo da Vinci of video games. I think that makes sense. Chapter 1 is what many consider to be peak Fortnite. There have been many rumors going around the internet recently that Chapter 1 may be coming back as a permanent mode in December. And I have to ask, is that really a good idea? Well, before we answer that question, I suppose a question we should be asking is, why would they want to bring back Chapter 1? Chapter 1 is where the whole game of Fortnite started, as long as you ignore Save the World entirely. What I mean by that is that Chapter 1 is what made Fortnite the cultural powerhouse that it is today. Its addictive, simple gameplay art style mixed with a focus on just having a fun time really brought the game to the forefront and made it one of the most popular games of all time. It was a surprise hit that really hit... Is that seriously what I put in the script? It was a surprise hit that really hit hard because nobody was expecting it. Nobody really knew what Fortnite was before the Battle Royale arrived, and thus nobody had any expectations before playing it and didn't know what to expect. It wasn't like Call of Duty where there were 27 different games in the series beforehand, each with fleshed out mechanics that some players enjoyed and others didn't, and thus had to cater to every aspect of the community and fandom while also trying to remain competitive. Fortnite didn't have to worry about any of this because there were no expectations for it. It was just this silly game that just spawned in one day for most people. Because of this, they were allowed to get away with so much during the early days of Chapter 1, such as a map that was actually really empty when you think about it, and some other issues that didn't really matter to anyone at the time. And everyone kind of knows where Fortnite went from there. It became one of, if not the biggest multiplayer game in the world, where it's been actively played for over 7.5 years now, and has a player base of millions with collaborations with Marvel, DC, Gugamon. You guys know Gugamon, right? But how are things today? Well, we are basically 6 chapters deep into Fortnite, and everyone isn't quite satisfied at the moment. Whether that be because the game has changed so much, like how in Chapter 5 almost all weapons turned from hit scan weapons into bullet drop guns, which made it much harder to use ARs and made the guns feel very, very different. Or maybe the map where everything looks a lot more realistic? I mean, if that's the right word for this. Or maybe they just aren't a big fan of the gameplay where things are a lot more complicated than what they used to be. With the additions of loot islands, mod benches, augments, NPCs, mythic items, it might just be a bit much for some players. That combined with the whole, concept of nostalgia. Players began to miss the old days of Chapter 1 where things were different. I'm speaking as if this was like a new thing that's only recently developed, but no, this has been happening ever since we left Chapter 1. In the Travis Scott concert in Chapter 2 Season 2, 6 months after leaving Chapter 1, there was a large community of people praying that the event took us back to Chapter 1. This has been going on for years. So, you're sat up at Epic Games HQ. What do you do? Well, obviously you bring back Chapter 1 with a twist. Chapter 1 OG released in November of 2023. This season brought us back to the Chapter 1 island with similar loot pools and gameplay elements based on the gameplay of the seasons from Chapter 1, with some different elements here and there. In this season, Epic somewhat recreated seasons 5 through 10 of Chapter 1, except they really hated the last 3 seasons of the chapter because they added basically nothing from those seasons. Also, Polar Pete didn't bother turning up for some reason. This season brought millions of players back to the game, a peak player count that Fortnite couldn't beat until next month when Chapter 5 released. But since then, the only thing that's come close is the brand new Chapter 2 remix. Now, Fortnite saw this success and they thought, how do we keep this going? Fast forward to Chapter 5 Season 3, where the player base were not happy. Surprise, surprise. We aren't going to talk about why. We all know why the Season 3 Civil War of 24 happened. We don't need to give any more people PTSD flashbacks. So Fortnite was sat there in their tower and they went,
Sir, the player base are not happy. The player count is going down. What do we do?
I've got it. Bring back Chapter 1.
No, sir, we already did that.
With a twist!
Fortnite Reload came out shortly after to huge success. Reload was a brand new take on the game's outdated Battle Royale formula that used elements from Fortnite's past, such as the POIs, gameplay, art style, and a little bit more. Reload brought new life into Fortnite that I am absolutely positive shocked a lot of people. And finally, with the release of Chapter 2 Remix, Fortnite released a season which once again lasts a month and takes us back to the Chapter 2 island with similar loot pools and other familiar elements from Chapter 2, with a few changes here and there to keep things fresh. So that brings us to today. Chapter 6 is releasing in less than a month. People have been very critical of Fortnite over the past 2 chapters. They've been experimenting heavily with gameplay in creative ways which don't always work out. So Epic Games had one final meeting up in their tower.
Sir? Is it true? You're adding back Chapter 1 again? With a twist?
No. No twist.
That's how it went, trust me. Leakers have confirmed that Chapter 1 should be releasing in December, with the release of Chapter 6 and all the other new metaverse modes that should be releasing around the same time. This Chapter 1 is apparently different, as it will be a fully faithful recreation of Chapter 1, down to the last minute details, a 1-to-1 recreation. Each season will rotate out every month, leading us to Chapter 1 Season X in September. What will they do? What will they do after that? Do they do Chapter 2, or do they start from Season 1 again? Now, adding a 1-to-1 recreation of Chapter 1 as a permanent mode into the game has major implications. Like, what the hell is going to happen to the game now that there's 2 separate Battle Royale modes? I think from a business standpoint, that idea is a no-brainer. Everyone loves Chapter 1, add it as a permanent mode. Of course it makes sense, but it probably isn't a good thing for Chapter 6 Battle Royale, or Reload, as a matter of fact. Think about it, Reload is mostly popular because it's a permanent mode that takes heavy inspiration from Chapter 1, and now a full Chapter 1 mode is coming out permanently. What the hell is going to happen to Reload? And what about Battle Royale? The community is going to be completely divided between the 2 Battle Royales. Sure, all the updates for the Chapter 1 mode already exist, so it shouldn't be difficult to make content for both Chapter 1 and Chapter 6. Okay, but what happens when Chapter 1 gets more players than Chapter 6 consistently throughout the year? Is there any point in updating Chapter 6 anymore? If you don't think that'll happen to Chapter 6, that's fair enough, but Battle Royale is still huge. But it'll definitely happen to Reload. It's kind of already happened now with Chapter 2 Remix. Even with a brand new update that has brought an amazing new map to the game, Reload's player base has halved in favor of Chapter 2 Remix. So just imagine what will happen with a fully faithful Chapter 1 mode. Like, are we ever going to get a new Reload map again? I'm not against a permanent Chapter 1 mode at all. I think it's probably a good idea for the longevity of Fortnite as a platform, but I think it will hinder some of the already existing modes. On the other hand, I think Fortnite might be trying to do something a lot more devious with this Chapter 1 permanent mode thing. Let me explain. In the past year, I've noticed Fortnite have been doing a lot of things to limit some of the FOMO in their game, at least compared to how they used to do it at least. Like, it's no Halo Infinite, but it's getting better. I'm talking rewards from quests are now available in the item shop, like the Cybertruck, and rewards from the Music Pass are available in the item shop from time to time. Epic have also just recently made it so that all battle passes post Chapter 5 Season 3 will be able to have rewards that come back to the shop. For example, in a year's time, the Doom skin will be able to be bought in the item shop. And the newest development in Epic's recent push against their old FOMO practices is that apparently old starter packs are set to come back. Specifically this one, which released in Chapter 2 Season 1, and the script's outdated, it came out yesterday. Now, this is all great. I hate FOMO so much. I'm so glad that they're bringing things back. But what has this got to do with the Chapter 1 mode? Well, if we read the fine print of the old Battle Pass terminology, it says, Battle Passes can only be earned during their season, which basically means that you can only earn Battle Pass rewards during the season in which the Battle Pass released and is active. For example, you can only unlock Season 5 Battle Pass rewards in Season 5 and so on. So legally, they cannot bring back old Battle Passes because of this wording. It's not that they won't, they literally cannot legally do it. I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten comments saying that they should just bring back old battle passes and they don't see why they ain't doing it, and it's because Epic are money hungry or whatever. It's because they can't do it without being sued. That's called false advertising. But with the release of the Chapter 1 mode and the fact that they will be going through each and every single season during Chapter 1, could it technically be considered okay for Epic to re-release the battle passes as long as the purchase and use period is during the month in which the season takes place? There's actually quite a lot pointing to this being Epic's plan, and by that I mean 2 things. One of those things is that none of the battle passes during Chapter 1 actually had any collabs, which means that the only legal issues Epic would have to run into when bringing back these battle passes would be with themselves. And the second thing is that recently all the old battle pass images have been moved into different folders in the files. Now, I don't really see any reason for them to do this unless they're planning to do something with them, or maybe they're just having a clean out, I don't know. If this is Epic's master plan, I have to hand it to them. That is actually really smart. My only major doubt is that these seasons are gonna last a month, and Battle Pass progression is usually built to last like 3/4 of the season, with most of Chapter 1 seasons taking around 3 months. So how are they going to get around that? Will they shrink battle passes down? Will they make XP gains in that mode easier? If so, how will that affect the rest of the battle pass economy, as when this releases, XP will carry over to each mode, like Chapter 6, the Music Pass, and the Lego Pass. Maybe it will be something similar to a Save the World venture, where the seasons will come back once a year every year, and during those seasons you'll be able to experience certain gameplay elements from each season, except this time you will have a battle pass to progress through in each season, and once that season comes back the following year, you can continue to progress progress through that pass as normal. But I don't really know about that. There are certainly a lot of questions going on right now. Chapter 6 looks like it's going to be a very exciting time for Fortnite. From the news I've heard so far, everything sounds very good. I, for one, hope that they bring back old battle passes, but I'm not sure if Epic would actually try and go through with it, but I really hope they will. I don't think bringing back Chapter 1 as a permanent mode is a bad idea at all, especially with how the game is changing recently. However, I do have a feeling that it might have some adverse effects on the way some of the other modes are updated, such as Reload or Battle Royale. But hey, we'll have to wait and see. I was completely wrong about Chapter 2 Remix, this might be the same. I'd like that down on record, by the way. I was wrong. Chapter 2 Remix is amazing, okay? I was wrong. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and use code TheBigCraigd in the item shop, and I will see you in a bit.